it's Luke Paints, that miniature painting coach, and we're gonna go back to our painting. So this is the Bretonnian Sorceress that I'm painting, and for this miniature vlog series. And if you're new to the video, you can see that there's the paints and brushes down here. There's the references of the picture references from the light and shadow down here. There's the color chroma up here, and we're going to be painting a miniature here. And so if you're continuing from watching from last time, you've noticed that I've patched up that face a little bit prior to my doing this recording session, because it was getting a little bit too challenging for me to kind of get the accuracy while painting through this camera, through this smartphone rather. And so I needed to kind of just do it without the camera. And I think it's one of those moments where I kind of had to cheat my way, because this painting through this camera is actually a lot more challenging than I thought in getting very specific fine spots. And while for something like the face, where it's the most detailed and defined point, I need to kind of just do that. For the rest of the miniature, I don't think I do. There isn't really a moment like that. Maybe when it comes to the metal, it might. So now I've also went ahead and added some magenta to my palette, because it just dried up too much, and so I had to make those changes. And right now we're just going to paint the I'm not quite sure what these are, hanging off her belt, but we're just gonna paint that, and we're gonna make sure that we get an orange out of it. So this is magenta that I'm putting on a tassel. I believe those are tassels that's hanging off a belt. I think that's what they're called. I'm gonna keep placing them like so. And you can see that like how my typical methods are, I wet blend pretty much everything. I just kind of slap on paint on there and keep going. And to my detriment, there are moments where I do make some mistakes in accuracy, but like how when you kind of wet blend this way, it's really easy to kind of fix mistakes. It's never really an issue. You either paint over it or you just kind of remove it while the paint is wet. So let's put that magenta in there, and then let's just kind of go ahead and take our yellow, just a little bit, just a little bit more, and then we'll just kind of drop it on there in 2 or 3 spots, especially towards the one on the right where it's a little bit more exposed. And then we're going to just mix them while it's on this miniature, so we can get a nice little orange. So dab, 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 dab. There we go. And we're gonna do a little bit more. Dab, 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 dab. There we go. And we're gonna actually add a little bit more magenta towards the bottom, because it should be a dark hue. And we're going to add just a little bit of a primary cyan and turquoise, some just at the bottom, so that we can change that hue, darken it. And we're going to take our yellow again, put it on the top here where it should be the brightest, over here as well. And we're not too worried about getting the accurate shape as of right now, because we want to make sure you get the defined colors. The shape later on, we can always draw out the outline and the occlusion for it, which is between the tassel on the left and the tassel on the right. So we're just gonna be cautious about that. And you see how I'm going ridiculously saturated here is because it is the a detailed component of this miniature, so we need it to be more saturated than the other parts. At least for this miniature, I'm doing it in this way. And then we have a nice transition to a brownish. So we're gonna remove, I'm gonna take my brush over here, that's a feather brush, and I'm gonna remove that layer over here, or rather I'm gonna blend it out to the bottom and leave it into those crevices. There we go. Alright, and we don't really need to define anything or create a definition there yet. What we need to do is actually go ahead and blend these parts so that it's much more vibrant. I've been noticing that I've gotten this habit of looking painting off camera in the last couple of videos. That's because it's actually been a while since I've painted, and perhaps it's also the way the camera is right now positioned, because with the two lamps that's to my side in this setup, it's actually created a little bit more trouble for me to paint. So let's put on this primary cyan. Let's move it towards so you can see that nice blue shade. It's kind of going over that green. It's just kind of like what we want. And we're going to add just a little bit of turquoise, just a little bit, onto these parts of the wrinkles and magenta. We don't want to remove that the spurts of magenta underneath, because it's what's creating the dark for us. It's creating those moments where it's dark. I'm gonna put a little bit of cyan right here, and then we are going to develop it throughout this area downwards, and then we have a much more proper blend through that. And then we'll go ahead and grab our primary cyan and move it up here, and we're going to finally be able to brighten up this area through just a little bit of blue. And so it's not really going to look all that bright, because this blue, what happens is that because it's in the place of a dark, it's actually going to make it dark necessarily at certain angles and bright necessarily at when the miniature is turned towards away from the light. And that's the kind of the effect that we want. So we're just kind of looming it just a little bit. See, now it's on the satin finish, and so it's a bit too reflective right now, but we'll kind of put that, we'll kind of wet blend a matte varnish onto that a little bit later. Put a blue in that. Let it sink into the crevices. Okay, now so this camera is not that accurate. We're just gonna make sure we do it this way, do it manually. Okay, there we go. So make sure we get this as close as we can. There we go. Now I'm also going to be sure, you see that fix on the face was really well done. So we are going to work on let me think of, I could work on the base, towards the base and of the miniature, and where the clothing ends. This is because these parts are really interesting to really get into towards that orange. However, I still need that part to dry. And what about this part? So if we notice that this kind of part of the miniature, it's still a little bit too dark, so we just kind of bump it up a little bit more. And you will probably see that for the most part of this painting process, I will be spending a lot of time just kind of doing lots of tiny fixes at moments like these. Really soft, really thinned. You can just kind of scale it upwards. And the whole purpose of doing this is to make sure that the end result is more finished. Okay. Clean out the darks. Just keep going. Oops, take away this cat fur. I have lots of cat fur in this room. Okay, there we go. Remove this down here by brushing it downwards. Okay, and then I'll add a bit of black just to get back that middle area here. into a gray and kind of let it wash in the bottom here of this miniature. All right. Okay, let's just keep going. A little bit more blue over here. Let it go upwards and out. All right, now over here we are missing a little bit of green, because if we look at it in this way, it's going to develop into a green a lot more slowly rather than a sudden change. And so I'm going to add just a little bit of yellow over here, like so, and it's actually more than enough, and just kind of develop it into the darks. Just a slow change, right? And we definitely want to bring back that primary cyan so we can properly develop this outwards a little bit more, right? And we're getting it just at the right tones. This one needs to be a little bit darker with some magenta, which we will add here. Just a little bit darker. Not too much. Not too much. And there we go. And you want to make sure we add that teal back. Just enough for the... There we go. Blend out that magenta downwards. And we have that nice little change. Alright. Continue with a little bit more magenta. Down here. You can see that if you still know that this is a green that we're working with. It's on the green side of the spectrum. And it goes into this nice gray. And we're going to actually do it for the top here as well. We're going to take quite a bit of our teal. Make sure there's no cat fur slipping away in there. Douse it in between. Between the crevices. We can see that it's taking its form, and we want that. Okay, we can really just leave it first. Let's see where else that we haven't quite gotten yet. This area here that we haven't. We can actually afford to put just a little bit of yellow. So a little bit of yellow and a little bit of turquoise in here. Okay, just a little bit more yellow. There we go. Take some turquoise, mix it on there. So you get a green. Just kind of remove this part. Let it blend outwards like this on that sleeve. So we get annotations of green in there. And it's nice. Okay. Put a little bit more. And there we go. That teal is really shining through now. Okay, and we still get that nice little shape of her tie. It's a woman's tie there. Just want to add a little bit of teal down here, just to kind of shade it off. Alright, and we want to make sure that our lights and shadows are not diminished. So we're just turning the miniature upside down now, just to kind of see what we're working with. I'm actually pretty happy with the way the colors are flowing and the way the colors are evolving, especially towards the sleeve here. You notice a small little annotations of like green. And however, I'm not that happy with this part because it's a little bit too dark, and in comparison to the other parts of the miniature which are more out. So we'll just kind of fix that real quick, and we'll do that by I'll just zoom out first, bring it a little bit closer so that we can see what we're doing. And we're gonna add in some yellow over here at the edge. You notice how it changes into a green real quick because of the surrounding. It's actually a really bright yellow, but because of the amount of teal, our eyes just kind of correct it to the to green. It's not actually green, by the way. So we're going to make a gray using this yellow and teal, and we're going to make sure that we add some magenta at the top and thin it down like so. So we have a definition. Add the definition, go lower, and we are going to go like this and blend outwards, okay. And we actually have our color. We're gonna make sure to darken that part now, the one underneath that, the dress. Darken it. I'm gonna keep darkening it in this way. Okay, and then we just kind of take a step back, kind of look at what we have here as it is. So we can see that there's the green there. There's not enough brightness towards the bottom, so we add some skin color like so. You just want to go at the bottom of the miniature. Let's just zoom that in real quick. And we want to add just a nice turquoise at the top, so we still maintain our saturations. And then we're gonna blend into that skin like this, because now over here we can soften the those colors, desaturate those colors a little bit rather, going at it towards the edge, and then we're going to desaturate this area with our skin color, because it does need to be desaturated. It's way too bright. And the ground as well, right now it just kind of looks like a goop. We'll need to desaturate that as well. The way we'll desaturate it is that we'll take on some black from our ivory black, and then we are also going to take a skin tone and do that towards the edge. Okay, so first I'll put a black over here out, cover it in like so, take some skin tone, apply at the base, it's really close in such a way, and then I'm going to blend it out like so. There we go. So we get that light, but at the same time it's been gray toned. When we zoom out a little bit, we can see how that looks like once it's dry. It's going to be a little bit too saturated once it's dry, so we are going to still add a little bit of skin tone over here. So I'm not too worried about the base being messy as it is right now, because we are going to reframe it later on when we are done. We just want to know what the blackest black looks like right now, and the colors are a lot more accurate. It's still a little bit too green, so we are going to put on just a little bit of magenta over here, because this whole area is way too green. So notice how that magenta is graying out the land. It's a little bit too yellow, so we'll take some turquoise add in here, and some magenta, add in here. Notice how dark it gets really quick. So we're going to actually put some white, just a little bit. I'm gonna go over it like this to gray out this whole area. Okay, because we want subtle transitions, we don't want anything too harsh. You can see it's this yellow. We will have to fix it a little bit later. Actually, we can do that now by adding just a bit of magenta and turquoise. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, there we go. And now we actually have our color hues are much more accurate. And so let's go ahead and work on the probably the next session. We'll probably work on that sleeve down here, or the darkness over on this end. As for the ones down over here, it's for the most part I wouldn't say done, but it's defined. And so because we could always just kind of take a little bit of black, just kind of plop it on here and to create that shape. And later on we'll just add in some inks to really properly highlight and outline the parts of it that requires that kind of attention. But for now we just need to darken this thing. We don't really need to really define it. It's because we want to create a contrast of the parts of the miniature that is really defined and the parts of the miniature that isn't defined. Right, so needs to be a little bit more magenta. By me zoning out like this, I'm able to look at what parts of the miniature require what kind of colors. Let's put this magenta down here so it goes into a proper color flow. And notice how I actually have never really touched the staff, just because we didn't really need to. There needs to be some magenta in here. The darkness here as well. And we can't leave that magenta alone, it needs to be married with that turquoise to create this kind of like purple. Add just a little bit more turquoise to make it become darker. Keep going, keep going. Okay, now because it's really deep purple right now, what we can actually do is we take some skin color, that pale terracotta that we had, and just kind of place it on this side. It will be a bit lighter. And this part of our hand as well, where it's completely in the shadow. Because when something is in complete shadow, our eyes automatically adjust, so we want to make sure we add that in. We're going to leave that as a splotch right now. Okay. Oh, and we also forgot this part, because it will be also in complete black. Down there, we're going to take our turquoise, put it on down here. I'm going to upside down the miniature so we can actually see what we're working with. Is that too saturated? No, not really. It looks more like a blue now, so I know it's missing some magenta. So we're doing like that. We can see that nice purple change into the darkness, and it contrasts with the green. So we're actually gonna leave it at that. And probably somewhere down here as well, we're going to add some magenta, and we aren't going to put it like this. We're going to allow it to flow from here. So we add that magenta, and we'll also add that turquoise right here. Okay, and then we're going to add just a little bit of magenta and yellow to bring back that orange, that green. Sorry, we're getting that bad habit of looking past the camera again. Okay, so I'm gonna put that on over here. There we go. There we go. Okay, that's really good. And let's see what we can do next. We want to make sure to get all these parts of the hair really really out the way. We don't need to do it now, but we'll need to do it at some point. And we want to make sure to just blend this part just a little bit. It's way too dark for what it is. Okay. Oh, and we will definitely need to, let's go ahead and work on this part now. We have 5 more minutes in the video, and I would like to actually define this part so it's less of a mess and we can finally work on it in detail. So the way we do this is we're gonna use some skin color to highlight, make those definitions a little bit more obvious, like this. We're just going to go really softly. The paints are really tinted, so okay. Go in another layer, and after this session I'll probably add some matte varnish so we can kind of see what's going on a little bit better for the next session. Okay, and then we want to make sure to blend that in with turquoise. Define those shadows a little bit better by adding some dark. Oops. Just a bit more. There we go. Keep going. Okay. Then we're gonna add just our teal and our turquoise down here to keep going to the bottom. Not as smooth as I'd hope. Probably have to thin out my paints a lot more for this section, which I'm okay with. Okay, that's fine. Let's see what else do we have to do yet before we really work on the miniature from it. Oh yeah, there's we have actually lost a lot of the yellow on the hair, and we need to kind of fix that. Oops, too much turquoise left on my brush. Need to make sure that I clean it off first. That's fine. Just kind of go with it. There we go. Remove that paint. Go ahead in this way. Add that green towards the lower area. This part of it actually needs to be green for the hair, because it's reflecting off the cloak. So do it a bit softly. Then we'll take a bit of magenta and we'll push it in between those crevices to create that, bring back that orange and those browns. There we go. Later on we'll highlight it just a little bit. Can we add in a little bit more magenta? Yes, we can. And we want to add a lot more magenta towards the side over here. A bit more thicker. In here. There we go. We're getting that nice little blend in the back. We'll let that dry. And let's just go ahead and see what we have done so far. Okay, so first off, I need to get my articulation with what I'm saying in these videos a lot more better, and I need to be, let's create the wrinkles over here like we did for the top. What else? We need to add just a little bit more turquoise down here on the hair later when that dries. we also need to add just a little bit more desaturation towards this way in a very light manner. We need to define those tassels, and I think that's what we'll do. Alright, so let's just kind of take a break here. Right? Thanks everyone.